Hello, my name is Russell Medley, and this is my EDL A56 Module 5, Understanding My Community. And the community that I will be talking about is St. Mary's, Kansas. It is a part of Caw Valley USD 321. And our district actually serves two different communities, both St. Mary's and Rossville. Rossville is a community about 5 miles away from us. However, because I teach in St. Mary's, I will just be talking about our St. Mary's community. So some of the customs and traditions of St. Mary's, it is a moderately conservative community and also predominantly Catholic. We have our K through 12 public school, and we also have our private Catholic academy and college, and that is kind of what I think makes our community really unique is having the academy and college there. It's a very big school that obviously houses a lot of students, and it's a something that you can see driving through our main street out of town. You see it from the road, and it really is noticeable. And with the academy, they have kind of their own customs and traditions, kind of the old school where girls are wearing the skirts, the boys are wearing pants and collared shirts. They try and keep the girls and the boys separate as much as they can. And typically with those families, see a lot of large family sizes. Um, and also in our community, we have a lot of manufacturing and energy center jobs. We have Jeffrey Energy Center, which is located just a few miles out of St. Mary's. That obviously employs a lot of our community. We also have the Onyx Collections business that is actually located in Bellevue, which is about 5 miles away from us. However, we have a lot of our community work there. And then Custom Woods is another big one in our town that employs a lot of people, but it also is a really popular business that attracts business well outside of our St. Mary's area. So some of the different population characteristics of St. Mary's, we have a population of about 2,636 people. Out of those people, 95% have a high school diploma, 22% have a bachelor's degree or higher. We are a Title I school, so 42% are on free and reduced lunch. Pretty close female to male, with 52% female, 48% male. 95% of our population is white Caucasian. I believe it was about 2% that was mixed race, and then 1% that was African American. We are a big manufacturing community, going back to the custom woods and the Onyx collection. Underneath that percentage, there was healthcare, which we have a manor as well as a hospital in St. Mary's. And then education was the next one, where obviously having both a public and private school employs a lot of teachers and staff administration. And then also probably the main characteristic of our community is just that public and private school divide. You can kind of tell driving through St. Mary's, and when you see kids out and about, you could probably have a good idea of who attends the academy and who attends the public school, just kind of like I said, by appearance. When you see them in a large family, there's some kind of big giveaways. As far as some different communication channels that we utilize in our community, our schools have websites that have daily bulletins posted that just kind of go over the main things that are happening, calendars of events and things like that. We also have a class that does what's called our Bears broadcast, and so they post a lot of stuff, sending information out. But they do that through the use of YouTube and then posting it on Facebook pages. We have a local newspaper called the St. Mary Star, and there we'll utilize them to get information out to the community. We are big into social media. We have our schools have Facebook pages that obviously a lot of our families connect with, and then I know like even a lot of the teachers and coaches use Twitter a lot, just to plug all the great things that are happening in the programs, and once again getting information out as well. We also utilize what's called School Reach, and so that's just a way for our administration to quickly get information out through a phone call. Parents and families sign up for that during enrollment. And then, like I said, if something needs to get out quickly into a large group of people, they'll just send out a phone call, a voice recording with that information. And then we also have some local news stations around us. We're next to Manhattan and Topeka, kind of in between. And so we will get some kind of coverage from them sometimes with different things that are going on in our community. Some of the different community groups that we have, there are religious groups, obviously. We have the St. Mary's Academy, which is actually kind of a break off from the Catholic Church. And then we have our actual recognized Catholic Church. And then there's a Baptist church and Methodist as well. The Board of Education, made up of 7 members that represent our district. The City Commission, obviously, with a mayor, and then the commission underneath. We have our Chamber of Commerce, the St. Mary's Priory, which is all the entities of the academy. The Booster Club, which is made up of parents and teachers and staff. And then our Bear Backers, which is kind of like a booster club in a way, except they are just community members that host different events and do different things to try and get the community together and also kind of raise funds that not only benefit the schools but also the community as well. As far as our leadership, we do have a mayor and a city council. Um, they're obviously the religious leaders are very important as well in town. Uh, we talked also about some of the major businesses we had, and I would classify them, those business leaders, also being having great leadership in our community, just with the resources that they can provide, not only to the community but the schools, both physically and financially. Our board of education, obviously, all the important decisions we are that they make throughout the year in regards to our education, and then that in itself reflects on our superintendents and principals carrying out all of their different duties. So some of the different characteristics of our community leaders, I think the most important is that they know the community, they're invested, they've been here a long time, they kind of know the ins and outs and kind of what makes us us, and they're known by many people. So like even on a first name basis, people just know who you're talking about when you bring somebody up because they're just someone who's known and obviously is visible in the community. They possess different resources. So kind of talking back to those businesses, they have physical resources that they can provide, and also financial. So it could be with the physical access to different resources within their organization or things that might be on their property that could be used for field trips, et cetera. And then going back to the financial, just things that they scholarships or whatever that they can provide for students or a community as well. It's important that they're visible, seen around the community. And then I think also another characteristic is just education. Obviously, there is education was one of the top 3 employers in our community, and so I think our teachers and our administration are also good leaders, and obviously, just having that education helps. So some of the different economic conditions of St. Mary's, we have a lot of businesses that attract business outside the area, so that really helps. Obviously, those businesses employ a lot of our community members, but I think it also brings in a lot of revenue just with all the outside business that they attract. We have a 2.8% unemployment rate, 7.5% sales tax. Average income per resident is about 19,133 a year, and then the median household income is about $47,650 a year. As far as the political structure of St. Mary's, we do have a mayor and city commission. Our school structure with that top-down approach with our school board, superintendent, principals. As far as public versus private separation of religion, obviously we're separate, but a private school's backbone is the religion aspect, and that's kind of the guiding force in their schools, is everything kind of tied back to religion. We are a Title I school, talk about the public school. We receive aid from the government. This would include title services as well as food assistance programs. I know we have it going on right now with the school shut down, but also during the summer, we're taking advantage of those programs as well. Our school is funded by state and local taxes, and we also are very lucky having that energy center close by where that kind of the capital outlay resources and that we receive from them helps and upgrades to buildings, facilities, etc. As far as some of the social tensions in St. Mary's, before this is my 8th year there, but I know before I had got there, there recently was a consolidation of schools, area communities that all sent their kids to St. Mary's, and so I think that, from what I heard, created some tension where obviously people living in those communities didn't want those great schools shut down. They didn't want to have to worry about how to get their kids to St. Mary's, things like that. I don't really see it much anymore, but I know that that was kind of an area of concern early on. And then obviously more recognizable one is the private school versus public school. We actually see it a lot where kids will come to us from the private school, or kids that might have gone to us might end up going to the private school, things like that. And we're very accepting and welcoming to those students. But there is a kind of an us and them type of mentality, whether that's right or wrong. But it's just kind of something that's always there. And our schools are actually very close to each other. So I would say it's not like a major concern, but there is a little bit of tension there, I would say. So different sources of information are Kaw Valley school records, district reports, our business directories, are the Census Bureau and Data, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as our board meeting and minutes that are posted online. Some of the different power structures. We have PLC teams, and so this would include grade levels meeting together, not only in St. Mary's, but also reaching out to those same grade levels across our district in Rossville. We have building leadership teams, district leadership teams, and our building principal and superintendents are on those different teams, and then our Board of Education. As far as multicultural issues, there's not a lot of diversity in St. Mary's. We're a predominantly white community. Um, Large family sizes we kind of reflect those that are on our free and reduced lunches. And even though I wouldn't classify that as multicultural, it is just kind of something that we see a lot. And so there is just a lot of families in our community that have so many kids, and you can just kind of tell they're stretched thin, both financially and kind of getting the attention from those families, and not knowing how much work's being done at home just because there's so many kids. Our high school does have Spanish classes and clubs. I know that they do go on field trips during the summer months, where they can kind of see other cultures and things like that. As far as power structure, our PLC groups will bring issues to our building leadership team. Our building leadership team also has our principal on that team. Um, the building leadership team can then bring issues to the district leadership team, and our superintendent sits on that team. And then our building leaders and superintendent will then present issues to the school board. Our school board consists of 7 members. And one thing that I included here was, like sometimes being in a small community, which I'm sure it's common in a lot of other smaller communities or bigger ones at that, is you kind of have those school board members that are parents themselves or have been in St. Mary's, or they kind of have their own hidden agendas. And so when I first got to St. Mary's, I kind of saw that a lot. Now I don't really see it much at all, but that's just kind of something that as teachers we kind of recognize sometimes that there are hidden agendas, whether it's right or wrong. As far as public opinion, our school board meetings are open to the public. Excuse me. We are currently going through the Apollo redesign process, and so that was kind of a cool thing where starting out we gathered a lot of opinions from our staff, students, and community in regards to our school improvement. This related to getting surveys out where they kind of talk about the pros and the cons of what they liked about our district, and it kind of allowed us to kind of analyze the different trends and kind of see areas that we could improve on. Talking about those surveys, we had sent those out to all those different stakeholders, and overall, we had a very positive response. However, there wasn't a high number of responses. And so I think in the future, one important thing would be to look into other ways of gathering that information, whether it's drop off, pickup, or mailing it, even having something available where at parent teacher conferences, um, they could be filling out those surveys there because you have them there right there. So um, that's our community. Love it. And thank you.